The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a story of a boy who awakens to the magical power of puberty through use of a musical instrument. The game lives up to its name pretty well. There's an ocarina, and there's time. But, as it often tends to do, my mind wandered into a dark, dark place while I was thinking about this game that lives rent-free in my head. What if we cut the game's subtitle in half? What if we ignored the ocarina part entirely? Could we still beat this game if we just turn it into The Legend of Zelda Time? For today's challenge, the rules will be simple. No stale reference manipulation, no arbitrary code execution, and we must clear every single main dungeon. To be more specific, the challenge will only be counted as a win if I collect every boss heart container, every spiritual stone, and every medallion. I can't collect a single ocarina, and I'm not allowed to learn a single song. If Link pulls out an ocarina at any point, the challenge is nullified. With that set of rules in place, let's get on with the run. Our adventure today starts as it normally does, with our young hero Link greeted by a light bulb with wings. Actually, no disrespect to Navi, since she's gonna help us a lot in just a moment. Nothing much changes at the start. Sword, shield, go through the Deku Tree as normal, but unlike what I normally do for these challenges, we actually grab all the golden skulltulas we can get right now. Beat the boss, but don't go into the portal just yet. Instead, save and reload and we're back in the forest. I'm doing this to prevent the cutscene of Zelda's escape from loading later. Next, we'll want to Navi dive out of the forest for two reasons. Reason 1, we really don't want to talk to Saria today. And reason 2, bean! I want to pick up a bean. Wait at the ladder for a bit to grab an item skulltula, then go to the bean salesman. Once a singular bean is acquired, grab that Kuko and float to the tree to knock a skulltula out of it so that we're at a total of 5 skulltulas so far. Then we're gonna use the Kuko to break the Zora security system. Once inside Zora's domain, I do the diving minigame, which I was actually too broke for, oops. Grab Ruto's letter in Lake Hylia, then wait at the pillar to grab the 6 skulltula token, and an item skulltula on the lakeside laboratory wall for number 7. After this, it's once again time for the most important part of any Zelda playthrough. Grab a fish, get swallowed by a bigger fish, meet a medium-sized fish. Grab all the available skulltulas inside Jumbo to get you to a total of 11 skulltulas, then use your newfound boomerang to kill this thing. I feel like this could have been a part of the big fish. Ruto rewards us with the Zora Sapphire. Bye, see you in 7 years. Next up, Kakariko Village. By now, I've racked up a large enough collection of skulltulas to hit the first milestone, the adult's wallet, which will let me hold up to 200 rupees. Next, I grab a bottle and the Hylian shield. We don't technically need these, but it's not too far out of the way, so might as well, right? Then, before leaving for my next destination, I make sure to have 200 rupees by grinding the Hyrule Castle drawbridge. Next, I go to Gerudo Canyon. No, you heard me correctly. Kuko skip past the fence and don't get caught. 4 times in a row. Side hop off the guard tower onto the cliffside, then hop through the wall back in bounds and go to the haunted wasteland. Backwalk across the quicksand to avoid drowning and go to the bomb juice cellar and purchase your bomb juice worth 200 rupees. That's a very steep price, but it's worth it. Now, since we're here anyway, I walk through the haunted wasteland without the ghost guide. Yeah, I'm serious. I couldn't find any set instructions, so I wrote down a set movement for this myself. Align yourself on the right side of the ruin, let yourself sink into the sand, then backflip a total of 12 times. Sink again, hold target and roll once, then immediately side hop right 16 times. Some of these will be fast, so listen to Link's shouts well. Sink into the sand again, retarget, then roll 13 times without touching the control stick. Just keep mashing. Fully sink again, retarget, backflip once, then side hop right 14 times. The crate should be in your vision to your left now. Go straight forward from here until enemies spawn, at which point you turn towards the crate to climb on it. Then, once you're on the crate, it's a straight shot to the end. Jump off the corner and just go. Finally, the Desert Colossus. Now that I'm here, I get the skulltula from the soft soil, then plant a bean and go home. Yeah, that was everything. See, you can do this run without doing this, but trust me, the bean makes things much more convenient in the future. Also, do not enter the Spirit Temple. And if we leave without completing it, Sheik will literally time warp to teach us a song on the ocarina we'll pull out of her butt. So, yeah. After all of that, we're finally able to hit Dodongo's cavern since we have explosives, bypassing the Goron bracelet requirement entirely. Just use these wherever explosives are required for now. You can even use them for the staircase. Then, once you have the bomb back, you can simply just start using it like normal. Kill King Dodongo, and Darunia, who we have never met before this, makes us his sworn brother. Before leaving Death Mountain, I go and stop Hot Brother Goron using a bomb chew and nut combo to make it a bit easier for myself, no timing required this way, to collect a bigger bomb back. On our way back through Kakariko Village, just walk through the bars. The security only works one way. It's to keep the people of Kakariko Village out of Death Mountain, not to guard against the monsters that might be crawling up there. The owl stops me for the third time to tell me to go visit the princess, which I promptly ignore once again. Beating the Dodongo's cavern also causes the bomb chew bowling alley to open up, and we're gonna use it to get up to 50 bomb chews. Yep, you heard me, 50 of them. We also collect the biggest bomb back this way, giving us 90 bombs total. But not only is this complete RNG on which reward I get, I'm also not the greatest at it. So collecting all the bomb chews took me well over an hour. Eventually, I managed to get the 50 bomb chews and finally leave the bomb chew bowling alley for now. I'll probably avoid doing this again. It's time to return to the forest to go to the Sacred Forest Meadow, but first, owl interruption. Link! It appears that the time has finally come for you to start your adventure. You're not very good at watching me, are you? Saria only ambushes Link when leaving the forest and not when entering, so we can just walk back into the Lost Woods, saying hi to the Kokiri boy guarding the entrance along the way. We make our way to the Forest Temple entrance and perform our first bomb hovers of the run here as young Link to the top. It's difficult, there's a lot of room for error, and you really aren't allowed to make many mistakes at all. There will be more hovering inside the temple as well, so remember to save some explosives. I'm really bad at setting up a hover, so I believe this is my own personal hell. Regardless, I eventually make it into the Forest Temple. First things first, 3 small keys must be collected. Thankfully, this is remarkably easy as the Song of Time block is actually already gone. It's in the future. 1 key is found in the entrance area up the vine in a chest. The next one is in the gardens. Climb the vine wall, hit the red switch to drain the well and grab the key from it. Finally, the northmost room with the Stalfos. Just destroy them using your trusty butter knife. Now, we go to the left side room and do many hovers, since we can't actually move or climb on the blocks. I'm actually starting to get pretty good at these now. From here on out, it's not too much effort to use the remaining keys to grab the bow. I'll be using this as Adult Link later, so getting it is absolutely a requirement. Now I use a vine clip to get myself into the boss door. Phantom Ganon is weirdly weak to boomerangs, so just assault him with boomerangs for a bit until he gives up. Forest medallion secured, or it would be, but the game actually crashes if I grab the medallion normally. But I have to do this as young Link, because learning the minutiae of Forest is actually unavoidable as an adult, so what I end up having to do is skip the cutscenes for the blue warp by dying as I enter. This allows me to get the medallion while fully avoiding the crash. This takes me several hours to get right with some other crashes because this is horrible. And the worst part is, it's not even gonna be the last one. But hey, Forest Medallion. Also, while a glitch I have to perform for this is called Fake Ocarina, or Ocarina items, I never actually pull out an ocarina, nor do I ever play a single note on my sword that I'm using as an ocarina. So for all intents and purposes, I'm not considering this to break the ocarina rule. But if you do consider it broken, then yeah, I will not fault you for that. Still, I would ask you to watch the rest of the video, because honestly, the run itself has some pretty interesting trivia nonetheless. Finally, for completion's sake, we'll hit up the Ice Cavern as well. To get into the Ice Cavern, I hover along the wall of the Zora Fountain and make my way up to the cliffside. Walk all the way over the cliffside to find where the world ends, and jump alongside the endless void to end up in the Ice Cavern. Now that we're here, skip the need to collect silver rupees in the first room by clipping through the red ice with a bomb tube. You can actually make it all the way to the end to fight the Wolfos that spawns the Iron Boots chest this way. Normally, grabbing the Iron Boots would trigger the Serenade of Water scene, but for some reason, it simply does not play when collecting the Iron Boots as young Link. Neat. From here, we have to make absolutely sure we're loaded up on all the items we need, 50 bomb chews in particular. as getting more will become a massive hassle from now on. After I'm fully loaded up on bomb juice, I sneak past the Door of Time to pull out the Master Sword, meeting Ganondorf for the first time along the way. As we meet Sheik for the first time, I suddenly remember that I already hold the trigger for her to teach me the Prelude of Light. And I don't really understand the mechanics behind it at all, to be honest. She does not decide to teach me the Prelude of Light. Maybe it's because I just got out of a cutscene, maybe it's because I grabbed the Force Medallion in a weird way, or maybe I glitched the game in a really bad way. But regardless, I will absolutely take this as a win, because I had completely forgotten about this in my routing, and I'm fairly certain she's supposed to be teaching me the Prelude of Light right now. Glitches are weird. Of course, I can't actually get out, so I use a save warp to teleport myself to the other side. I am never going to go to the Master Sword pedestal again, I do not want to tempt fate. Now that I'm an adult, raise the corpse to grab the hookshot and prepare to enter the Shadow Temple. Entering the Shadow Temple requires the same trick we've done previously in Rupulus. Bomb hover, which goes surprisingly well, your way onto the edge, and side hop into the Shadow Temple area right over the loading zone to ignore the Shadow Temple door. Pick up the hover boots and realize you can't actually move the boat because you don't have the ocarina. So instead, in the hover boots room, we're going to do the triple/boat skip. Then, with a very precise trick in the unloaded room, which I have to perform completely blind since nothing is showing, ledge clip damage boost to skip past the door since we won't have the ocarina for the boat ride. This took me another few hours to get right. In the dark, kill Bongo Bongo out of frustration and the Shadow Temple is finally completed. For you, this took like a minute. For me, I've been here in several segment recordings for hours. Next up, Spirit Temple. No long shot, no Epona song, no problem. By hovering over the fence of London Ranch, Epona just shows up without the song. We can then ride her all the way into the Gerudo Fortress. From here, progress is normal until you hit the Haunted Wasteland. Once again, it has to be done blind, and the previous instructions still work for Adult Link, so you can just hop on through just fine. The Spirit Temple requires 2 keys in the child section and 3 keys in the adult section. But since we're skipping the child section entirely, the only thing we're worried about is the adult section. 1 key is made inaccessible as an adult because we would need the ocarina, and we're never able to leave the temple unless we clear it, so that rules out grabbing a free key as a child. So lucky for us then that there's a way to bypass the door the key was intended for. Remember that magic bean we planted as a child? We can use it to bomb hover our way to the Silver Gauntlets, causing Naboru to get kidnapped 7 years late and also yell Link's name at him, even though they've never met before. I think Link might just be a celebrity. Also, none of that was actually necessary, but I kinda just wanted to do it anyway. After that, I go back down and do a hover to the Mirror Shield, then play the dungeon from the Mirror Shield onward. We skip this room because you open it with the ocarina, and it's actually the room where the boss key is stored, but don't worry about it, it won't be necessary. Here we use some bomb hovers to get ourselves high up pressed against the door. Finally, drop a 3rd bomb and pull out the sword right as you're about to get hit by it. And this will cause Link to clip straight into the door. There we go, beat the worst boss in the game. No, I won't accept any arguments. Spirit Temple, done. Roru interjects saying the 6 sages have all been awakened, except this time we're missing 2 of them? And I'm pretty sure one of them I never even met in the Chamber of Sages since we were dead at the time. He's a bit early, isn't he? Oh well, time to pick up the light arrows I can't actually use. Sheik, who showed up literally once in this entire playthrough, reveals themselves to be Zelda. That's, very cool and all, but we never met, and Link grew up in the forest. Anyone could say they're actually Princess Zelda, and I think he'd probably believe it. Sheik did do a cool magic trick though, so we should probably believe her based on that. Everyone knows princesses are magic ninjas after all. Zelda tells us a story about how she saw us when she escaped the castle 7 years ago, but I don't remember any of that happening. She says she threw an ocarina, but it was never there. And one does appear on the screen as a result, but since this is a flashback based on something that clearly didn't happen, I don't think it counts. Zelda then explains that she thought as long as I had the ocarina in my possession, she thought Ganondorf could never enter the Sacred Realm. Then again, she also talks about how I opened the Door of Time, which I never did. After all that nonsense, she finally gives me the light arrow, which I immediately dump in the trash because magic isn't real. Zelda immediately gets kidnapped afterwards by a magical rupee, causing me to rethink my life. and I set off on my journey to actually rescue the rest of the sages. Good luck with that, magical ninja princess, I'm sure you'll be fine. Fire temple time! I stop Link the Goron by firing an arrow at the bomb flower so that he opens the door for me, letting me set foot in the Runia's room for the first time in the run. I guess they got rid of the old lock that opened with a song, which is good for me. To avoid the Bolero of Fire, I align myself on this wall, and with the hover boots equipped, I can simply backwalk onto the top of Spectacle Rock. Doing this allows me to skip learning the Bolero of Fire. The Fire Temple itself proceeds as it normally would, except this Song of Time block has a rusted switch under it. So after I grab the hammer, I have to jump bonk the block to hit the rusted switch underneath anyway. Fofagia dies just as easily as it normally does, and onward to the next temple. It feels like whenever I do these challenges, the Fire Temple always gets the short end of the stick. But I think that's because the Fire Temple is incredibly self-contained, needing only bombs, a sword, and a hammer within to complete. Safe warp out of Death Mountain to get out, and let's finish things off at the Water Temple. Since I picked up the Iron Boots as a child, we can just enter as if we're playing normally, and though we have everything we need to properly play the Water Temple, since I picked up the Iron Boots, this run has been eating hours of my life, and I really don't feel like doing the Water Temple right now, plus I would probably skip most of it on screen anyway. So instead, I just used the hammer with the hover boots for a recoil boost and performed the same trick we used early on the Spirit Temple door. With that, kill Morpha by poking it repeatedly and clear the Water Temple. All dungeons are completed, mission accomplished! And just like usual, Sheik shows up again after getting kidnapped, which means we saved Zelda! Congratulations! But to be honest, just hold your tears for now. Before we move on, here's a fun fact. The time is always set to dawn for the Water Temple cutscene, so if you're fast enough, you can always pick up the fire arrow. I actually think that this cutscene might be trying to hint at the fact that there is something to do here. It's time for the finale. We will be skipping Ganon's trials since we don't have magic because magic isn't real. Finally, after all this, we meet Ganondorf and also an impassable snag in all of our planning. After all of this, Ganondorf can only be made vulnerable with the light arrow. And after all this, there is just no way for me to get magic. Both magic meters are unfortunately gatekept by the Great Fairies, and apparently fairies only respond to music. I never learned the song, for obvious reasons. Heck, I never met Zelda until earlier that week, so I'm not able to get the magic meter. And just like that, it's impossible to beat Ocarina of Time without ever seeing an ocarina. But that doesn't mean I'm ready to give up. Even if it's impossible, isn't it my job to make the impossible, well, possible? This is where, depending on where your limit is for glitches, the run becomes either impossible or possible. You may have noticed I skipped over something important. I'll give you a few seconds to guess what it is I skipped over. Did you get it? I don't have the Kokiri Emerald yet, because I left it to skip a cutscene from showing up. But there is a second reason to go back to grab it. This room is the key to getting past Ganondorf and his evil machinations. It's time to return to where it all began, Kokiri Forest. First, I need to break into the Deku Tree, which is currently closed off. I use bomb hovers to get onto the wall, take a good leap and jump slash inbounds again, which leaves the Deku Tree area unloaded. From here, walk into where the Deku Tree entrance would be. Success! We're in the Deku Tree now and can set up a wrong warp using the Ocarina items glitch, which can practically use any item but the Ocarina to trigger. As a young Link, I'd need to set it up with a double death warp, with the last triggered cutscene being that of entering the Great Deku Tree. As adult Link, however, it can work if you save warp in the Great Deku Tree, setting the title screen cutscene as the last one and pausing once in Goma's room. From here, we do a cheeky little setup that's way too complicated to explain, and since I suck at wrong warping, it takes me yet another 2 hours. And this leads us right to this room in the collapsing Ganon's tower. Phew! And as a bonus, the Kokiri Emerald was added to the inventory, properly clearing the dungeon too. With that, let's kill Ganon, which we can do without using magic, or at least without using magic ourselves. And finally, after all that, and after having to use a wrong warp, which I admittedly never wanted to do, or even learn, Ocarina of Time is successfully beaten without ever seeing an ocarina on screen. Well, not counting the perfectly avoidable flashback, I guess. I could have just not picked up the light arrow and bomb hovered my way into the castle, so I'm just going to count it as completed. And now, it's time to watch Zelda perform a magic trick as she asks Link what's in his pocket. And there was an ocarina in there all along. Wow! Amazing! Wait, doesn't that mean I technically failed?